All right, guys, so as you can see, you got it all rolled forward. Let's go ahead and climb underneath the back there and get started on the Fass.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and start out by getting the filler neck hoses off of here. Those should just be 8mm on those hose clamps. Go ahead and loosen those up. And then you guys might want some safety glasses because you get a lot of dirt and debris that'll fall on you here. So just be aware of that. So I think something like that. And then see if we can break them free here. These are probably going to be on there pretty good. I think it's been about 5 or more years since I removed these because I had to do a pickup tube on this. So I'm just using a pry bar to kind of just see if I can wiggle these off of here. Just loosen them up some. Okay guys, so those don't really want to come off too easy here, so I think we may have to drop the tank before I can get those kind of off of there. They're just stuck on there pretty good here. Okay guys, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to pull out these 3 7mm bolts here for the filler neck. Let me just see if that's going to make it any easier. So you can see that's what those look like. So let me go ahead and pull these off. And I'm going to need 2 hands here. So let me set my camera down here and get these 3 out real quick. Okay, so I got all 3 of those loose, and you can just kind of let them fall down in here. They won't go anywhere. So let's see if that made this any easier. Getting these lines off of here. All right guys, so I think I got them somewhat close, but it looks like one of these is tearing, which isn't good. All right guys, so let's just see, let me lower this. Maybe that'll pop off a little easier, hopefully. So next, grab an 18mm. Let's go ahead and pull these 2 bolts here holding the front of the tank on. This is going to be your differential right here. So go ahead and pull those 2. I'm not sure if you saw, but it did drop a little bit. But we got the front bolt, or the back bolts holding it still on. So let's go ahead and get our jack under here next. All right, guys, so I got a transmission jack that I'm going to be using, but you can just use a regular one if you want with a block of wood. Transmission jack's just a little easier probably. But let's go ahead and get this jacked up there. Probably just there just to kind of stabilize it a little bit, or you can go up a little bit, and then we can do these other bolts here real quick. So now let's go ahead and undo these 2 bolts here, and this tank is pretty much empty. It's pretty much right on E, but if you guys can plan it to where it's going to be somewhat empty, that makes this job a lot easier. Let's go ahead and pull these 2. So now I'm going to slowly lower this a little bit so we can get access to the fuel lines to disconnect them. Also, I'll keep an eye on those lines there. Hopefully just dropping this a little bit, we can undo the filler neck tube there. So let me just go down a little bit here.
and check and see if we get a little better access up here.
All right, guys, so as you can see, just me lowering that a little bit, you can see it's starting to come off a little better here. Let me just go a little more. And let's see if I can twist this off now. There we go. So then you can just pull this whole thing out of here. Make that a little easier.
All right, guys, so when I did the pickup tube on this last, I think I was able to lower this whole thing down to get to those quick disconnect fuel lines. So let me go ahead and lower this a little more here, slowly. Just watch as you're doing this, because those fuel lines have quite a bit of slack on them. So even about right there, that should give us enough room.
So first thing we can do is go ahead and unplug this electrical connector here. So you got a little tab right here. Go ahead and push down on that. And then you should be able to release this. There we go. All right, guys, so I'm trying to get you the best angle here, but you can see we got our two fuel lines here that we need to disconnect. So I got a 5/16, and I can't remember if it's a 5/16 or a 3/8 quick disconnect fuel tool here. But you're gonna stick this in there, and then you're gonna kind of push in on the fuel line. And as you're doing that, pushing on this tool, and then you can see that pulls out like that. And let's try this 5/16 on this one as well. And that one doesn't seem to come off as easily, so let me try the 3/8 on this one. There we go. So there's that one.
Okay, so with those fuel lines disconnected, we should be able to get this down all the way, and I'll go as much as I can, but it looks like that might be as much as I can go down on this transmission jack. Now we can go a little lower. So about right there like that. What I'm gonna have to do is slide this jack off of the tank here. And again, my Excursion is lifted, so it makes this a lot easier. I think if your guys' isn't lifted, you'll have to jack it up to get this tank out of here. All right, guys, so let's see if I can get this off of here. It's probably not gonna be the easiest. Kind of something like that. So like I said, guys, mine's lifted. Even with it lifted, there's just enough room, but if you guys isn't, you'll want to jack it up before you do this. So then you can just slide it out of here. Okay, guys, so next I went ahead and just shoved a couple rags in the hoses here, and then those two fuel lines there. And now I'm going to take some compressed air and just kind of blow off some of this dirt and dust debris that's on here.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and break free this lock ring on here. And in the instructions, they say to kind of note where these lines are coming, so they're kind of facing that way there. So take you a flathead screwdriver and just kind of tap on this, and this should release. Just try not to break the plastic. And then you should be able to just undo it by hand here. pull that off. And then you should be able to pull this whole thing out of here. Tilt it up to get your float there. Just like that. Okay guys, so what you want to do next is there will be a green O-ring on the bottom of this. I went ahead and just took it off so it doesn't get lost, and I put it back on the tank there. So go ahead and take this, kind of mount it lightly in a vise maybe, whatever works best for you. But don't go too tight because you don't want to bend those lines. Just get it kind of snug on there. You can see it's pretty loose still. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this and we're going to kind of measure on here about where we need to put it. So I'm thinking kind of like that. Try to get as close as you can to this here, your electrical connector. And then you can take a black Sharpie and let's just kind of mark this because we're going to take a hole saw and drill a hole through here. So I'm thinking kind of something like that, maybe. So kind of hold that and then just draw around here. And kind of moved there on me, but it's all right. Need a smaller Sharpie to get down in here. But you guys kind of get the point. So something like that. Next, you're going to take your 1 3/8" hole saw. We're going to go right in the center of this circle here. And then just take a peek underneath. Make sure you're not going to hit anything underneath. And let's go ahead and get this drilled out. So like I said, just go right in the center of that circle there as best as you can. Let me see if I can get it out of this vise here. I'll make it a little easier. Okay, so I went ahead and mounted it in the vise kind of like that. Let's see if that helps it out, makes it any easier. Alright guys, so you can see that's not really cutting through it. Let me run to the store and see if I can get a better blade and hopefully cut through this. Okay guys, so I went ahead and just ran by Home Depot, got this Milwaukee Shockwave. This one's for stainless steel, so it should work a lot better than that other one. You can see the teeth on this one. So let's go ahead and give this a shot again. Jeez, and even that one's hard to get through. Okay guys, so even that's not working. So, and you can see I've pretty much worn down this bit already. So I'm gonna go ahead and try the step it, see if that'll maybe work a little better here. I got a couple sizes all the way up to 1 3/8". So start out with the small one, and we'll see what we can do with this. So you can see even that's working a little better, but it's still pretty hard, so keep going at it here. Okay guys, so as you can see, I finally got the hole cut. So I did try the step it, that did not work. Got to about right there, as you can see, and then it just wouldn't go anymore, and I needed to get all the way up to here. I tried moving it back and forth, but it just did not want to catch. So I figured let's try one more thing. So I ran to Harbor Freight, see what they had, and I picked up this Hercules 1 3/8" carbide hole cutter, and this is what it looks like. And right away I was able to stick this on and start turning, and it cut through like butter. So hats off to Harbor Freight for this. So if you guys are going to do this, you might as well pick one of these up from Harbor Freight. It was 27 bucks, but well worth it. I should have just got this in the first place. So now I'm going to go ahead and take my file and just kind of deburr this hole here, and I think I'll call it for the night. I think I'm coming down with something, so kind of tired, especially from running all over town trying to pick up bits and that. So let me go ahead and get this deburred, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Okay guys, so it's been quite a few days. Like I said, I was getting sick, and I was sicker than a dog. Between that and then working my other full-time job, I didn't have any time to work on the Excursion, but feeling 10 times better now. So let's go ahead and continue on where I left off. So like I said, I did get the hole all drilled out a few days ago, and I did end up using this Hercules carbide 1 3/8 hole saw from Harbor Freight. So if you're going to do this job, just pick one of these up. This cuts through that stainless like butter, unlike that Milwaukee Shockwave. Don't even waste your time with that one. And then so what's going to happen is this piece is going to go through here, and I did use a file just to kind of clean up along the edges here, the burrs, just so you don't have any sharp edges or anything. But this is going to go through here, and you got this gasket that seals on there, and then there's a nut and a washer that goes on the back to tighten this down. But I just want to show you. So on the back side here, you can see there's that piece of metal like reinforcement that goes down there. And I was afraid that's going to get in the way of that nut. But looking at the Fass instructions, it shows they do the same thing and they tighten it down on that. So shouldn't be an issue. So I just want to show you real quick. So you can see you got the draw straw there that comes off of that. And then this is that nut I was talking about, and then there's a washer underneath. But you can see they got that piece of reinforced metal as well, and they're going right on top of that. So that should not be an issue. And then they say that we can just remove this fill screen. Of course, this one fell off when I was cutting the hole, but you can just go ahead and pull this off of here. They said we won't even need that anymore. I have replaced this before. That's why I've had to drop the tank, because eventually the fuel just rots this away, and this will just be floating at the bottom of your tank, and then you don't have as much clearance to suck any fuel up. So it'll seem like you're running out of fuel even at 1/4 of a tank. So if that's your problem, most likely this is sitting at the bottom of your tank all busted and rotting away. So next I'm going to go ahead and take my compressed air and just kind of blow some of these shavings, make sure all the shavings are off of here, and come back. Alright guys, so next let's go ahead and prepare the suction lines. So go ahead and take this piece, mount it in a vise if you got one. You can see the return there, the R. What you're going to do is you're going to have 2 fittings. So you're going to have 2 of this one here. You can see it's a little bit more shinier. This is going to be the 10-300 they supply you with. And then this one here is going to be the 10-273. So the shinier one is going to go into the return port here. So you can go ahead and just screw this in. You can see there's already thread tape or thread sealant on it, so don't worry about using any on that. Go ahead and try and get this started in here. And you want to make sure you don't get this cross threaded in there. So kind of get that started in there, and then you're going to grab a 7/8 and you're going to tighten that to 18 foot-pounds. So just go ahead and thread it in there. Right there, 18 foot-pounds. Then you can pull this out of your vise. Let's go ahead and flip this over. If you notice, there's the sump side. So again, just go ahead and tighten that in there. And then we'll stick this other one, the 10-273, in this side. And we'll do the same thing, just tighten that one down. Just like that. Okay guys, so next let's go ahead and get this draw straw onto here. So they say to use some grease. I'm just going to use this luber plate here. You can put some either inside the straw here or right on here, and then we'll go ahead and stick that on there. So let's take a little bit of this just to help it slide over this portion here. Let's get that kind of lubed up there. I'm not going to use any inside the tube. It's too hard to stick any in there anyways. And then just go ahead and try to get this set down onto there, just like that. Okay guys, so the next part is very crucial that you follow this correctly. So we need to use this 3/8 hose clamp around this portion here to tighten the draw straw, but you cannot block this return hole here. So, and then if you notice, you got a bigger gap here than you do over here. So the portion of the hose clamp, this portion here needs to fit right in here. So that way we can still get this nut and everything over and tightened. So go ahead and drop on your hose clamp here. And I'm going to position it pretty much kind of like that. So you can see as I tighten this, it's not going to obstruct the nut or anything from tightening down. So this is going to be a 1/4 inch. So you can go ahead and kind of get it snug a little bit here to where you can move it still. And I'm thinking probably right about there. Go ahead and tighten it. Just double check. Make sure it's still good. So just like that. So you can see I'm not obstructing to where the nut isn't going to be able to tighten on there, and then I'm not obstructing this hole at all with the this portion of the hose clamp. So you want it to look just like that. So now you can go ahead and get this straw through here, and then you want your sump side to be this side right here, and then your return is going to be closest to your plug there. So get that kind of through, and then take your washer and your nut. You're going to stick that through your straw here, all the way back through. Once you get that through, make sure your washer sits down on here. And this is what I was talking about, how it kind of is on this reinforced metal there. I'll go ahead and screw this on here. Get that kind of started. And then you may have to just maneuver this a little bit, make sure your lines are going to line up where they need to be. So it should look something like this on the other side. See, we got plenty of clearance here to stick our other end on there and screw it on, and same with this side. And then if you take a look, it's kind of hard to see, but got the R right there, and then your S for sump right there. Next, go ahead and grab a large crescent. Let's just go ahead and get this nice and snug. Kind of like that. And then if you don't have a large enough crescent wrench, you can always use just a pair of channel locks as well. Because even with that large crescent wrench, it's kind of hard to get in there. So just tighten that with some channel locks. And looks like I'm tight enough because it ain't moving anymore. So once you get that all on and tightened, just verify that your float here isn't going to interfere with that draw straw. You can see we got plenty of room there. So next we can go ahead and get this back into the tank, and you'll notice there's an arrow right here. So that's going to be facing pretty much this way right here. But you can see there's these 2 notches in here, so you really can't get this backwards. That's where these 2 notches on the bottom are going to fit into. So carefully get this back in, make sure it's all cleaned up. It's not a bunch of metal shavings or anything from drilling your hole. And get your float down in there first. And go ahead and bring this around. Slowly drop this in, and then again make sure your gasket's here. Reusing that one. And it looks like our draw straw might be a little too long. So you can see it hitting on the bottom there. So it looks like we're gonna have to trim some of that off of the draw straw. So let me pull this back out. All right guys, so I went ahead and mounted it back into the vise here so we can go ahead and make our cut on here. And if you take this old piece here and stick it back on, so it kind of stops right there. This portion here with the ridges, this sits on the bottom of the tank. You can actually see the marks that they leave. So we know the bottom of the tank is pretty much at the bottom of these. So we need to trim it just shy of these ridges here. So I'm thinking somewhere right around here, and we should be safe. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of mark this with a Sharpie. But you can see this kind of moves, so think about somewhere right in, thinking right in here, and we'll be okay. Okay guys, so I went ahead and just remarked it on the top here, and then you can go ahead and pull this off. And I cannot find my PCV cutter for some reason, because normally it has the click action there, and then it kind of just snips this right off perfectly. I don't feel like running to the store getting a new pair, so I'm just going to try a razor blade here. Hopefully that cuts through this easy enough. So I'm just going to go straight through that right there. Just like that. So now let's see if that's going to be enough to clear the tank now. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again. Now that our straw is cut. And as you can see, looks like that's gonna fit on there perfectly. Just like that. Like I said, you can't really screw it up because those will, so if you sit it kind of off like that, you can see it won't fully seat in there. But if you turn it to where those grooves drop in that were on right in here, you can see that fits perfect. So then you can go ahead and get your lock ring into place, and it's kind of hard to fit it around this fitting, so you may have to lift it up a little bit and then kind of get it shoved over this fitting here. Kind of like that. And then getting this lock ring started is the hard part. So you got to get it just right and start it on here while keeping this the way it needs to be. So I think I got it there. So just make sure you're locked into place there. Get that as tight as you can by hand. Then take your flathead Go ahead and hit on this. It's about kind of like that. So next, take it's what they call the PL 1058 fitting. So you'll have two of these, two exact same ones in the kit there. So take one of those along with your FL 1058 hose. This is going to be the single run of this. So this is going to go onto there. So they say to use a little grease on this as well. You can also use some heat. So I think I may use some heat as well. And just put some grease down along here, because we need to push it all the way down against this yellow stopper here. So throw some grease on there. And then, like I said, I'm just going to use this heat gun here. Just heat the end of this up a little bit, just to help get it on there. Let's see if that's enough. Go ahead and stick this on and slide that down on there. Like I say, it's nice to have a vise to kind of help hold that while you push down on that. So kind of like that. So next you're going to take your PL 1005 fitting. You'll have a total of 3 of these. So go ahead and stick that into your vise. Get that nice and tight. And then again, I'll stick some grease on this one. And then you'll take your FL 1002 hose. You'll have 2 runs of this. So let's go ahead and stick one end of this onto there. And again, I'll go ahead and just heat this up because that seemed to help quite a bit. And go ahead and shove that one on all the way to the yellow. So just like that. So then come back over your tank here, and the line we just did, the return one, the smaller one, go ahead and get this screwed on here. And then you can grab a 7/8 and a 22mm or a crescent, either one. Get on this side here and get on here, and let's just start tightening this up. Get that nice and snug. Then grab your other hose here. Of course, this is going to thread onto that one. And this one might be a little bit harder to start because of this right here. Just try and get that started without cross threading it. Probably would have been easier get this started with it out, but then you can't get your lock ring on, so try and get that one kind of started, and that's going to be a bigger size. Just make sure I can get this started first. So let me grab a crescent. Let's try and get that started on there. Like I said, so you don't want to try and cross thread that. And I'm kind of hitting on this lock ring here. So let me see if I can maybe hit that a little more, just to kind of get that out of the way. And then maybe I won't be hitting on that. There we go. Finally you'll get it. Just got to kind of hold down on this, and eventually you'll get it started. Snug like that. Alright guys, so next we should be able to get the tank back up in there. I just want to show you though, I did replace these two hoses here. I just went by my local Napa, and luckily they had a filler neck. I had to cut it down because it did not match perfectly, but it should be just fine. Same with this piece here, because you can see, especially this end towards the filler, you can see how it was just kind of degrading there and about ready to fall apart. Same with this one here. So, okay guys, so I went ahead and slid the tank back underneath the Excursion here, and then got my jack back underneath here, the transmission jack. So the way I do it is I'll just slide it on the ground underneath the Excursion here, and then I'll tilt the whole tank, push it over that way to where it's on one side, and then I get my jack under here, and then with that transmission jack you can adjust it right here. So I'll turn this, and that plate that's right here will kind of tilt. So then I'll tilt it and get it even with the tank being tilted up, and then I'll slide my jack under there, and then I'll start bringing this back, so it slowly tilts this all the way back, and then it kind of sits on there just perfectly like that. So now let's go ahead and I'll bring my camera over to the other side, and let's go ahead and get our fuel lines connected again. So go ahead and crawl underneath the driver's side here. Let's get our fuel lines connected again. Of course, you got the two different sizes, the small ones. Gonna go towards the furthest one there. Get that in, and it clicks in there. Get your other one here. Make sure that one clicks in. And then you got your wiring harness right here. Go ahead and get that plugged in. And make sure that clicks as well. Okay guys, so what I did next is kind of hard to show you. Can't get my camera up in there, but this line here on the back side of the tank for the sump, I went ahead and kind of pulled it, and then if you take it and you go right up through the frame rail here, there's going to be a hole right in the frame here. You're going to want to stick it through that, and then that'll bring it out kind of by the shock there. There's going to be another hole in the frame right by the shock there that you'll want to continue going through that. And then I already took the return line here, so the smaller line here, and I started feeding that through the second hole as well, right by the shock here. So let me go ahead and crawl underneath the front area there and I'll show you exactly. And then you just want to make sure that this line isn't too tight to where it's kinking this up here. So just make sure it's kind of loose like that. Of course, we still need to jack the tank up and everything, but so something kind of like that. And then, sorry guys, it's not the best lighting here, but you can see, so there's our shock. And then I was talking about there's a hole back there, just after the shock there. So get the larger hose through that. And then the second hose is going to be right here. See if I can zoom in. You can see this is where I feeded the smaller one already, but I already pulled the larger one through. So if you get it behind, like I said, behind all this stuff here, go ahead and pull this one through. And again, just make sure it doesn't get kinked. So you have to turn the hose just like that. Okay. So you want to have a little play in it. But that should work kind of like that. And then we'll just kind of drape these over here for now, until we get the rest of the tank back up into place. So then with everything connected, let's go ahead and see if we can start getting this jacked up here. May have to center it some more, but just watch your hoses here. You may have to kind of bend those to get them past that point there. So just check on the other side. Just keep going back and forth, making sure you're clearing everything. So then just make sure your two lines came up through, so that looks good. And I'm thinking I might get these on now before we tighten up the bolts and everything, just in case I need to lower this any to get it started onto the filler neck that goes to the outside there. So let me grab that. So what you can do is kind of stick your fuel cap on up there, and that'll hold it into place for now till we get these on, and then we get the bolts in. Alright, maybe just sit up there, so it's gonna be hard to show that on camera. Okay guys, so had to do that off camera because I had to get myself pretty much up in the fender here and maneuver that around. You can see I finally got that on. It's not very easy, but got those tightened, and then I went ahead and tightened up all three of those bolts that we took out for the filler neck, and then I got my gas cap back on there. So now let's go ahead and see if we can get all four of these bolts to hold the tank up real quick. So I'm going to start out on these ones right by the hitch here, and you can see we're kind of off, so you may need to kind of maneuver it a little bit there, and we still need to go up some, but I'm going to see if I can just lift it by hand here and then get this started with my 18 millimeter. Kind of right there like that.
kind of get it started. I want to make sure I can get all four in before I totally tighten them down. So do the same to this far one over here. So then on the front here, you can see looks like you still need to go up, so should be able to jack it up still. Get this one a little closer. It's kind of like that. Get both of these started. And let's go ahead and tighten those up. And then you go ahead and tighten these up the rest of the way. Okay guys, so then if you take a look, this gap here between your bumper and the back doors, you can see the blue hose there. And it doesn't look like my camera's gonna focus. We wanna make sure those aren't pinched or anything, that blue hose. Let me see if I can get you guys a better angle here. All right guys, so here's a better angle. Of course, this is our leaf spring, and there's our filler neck hoses. But if you can get up in here, shine your flashlight, and it's gonna be hard to get my camera up in here. But anyways, you'll be able to see that sump hose. It'll kind of wrap around just a little bit, touching the body there. But you just want to make sure that when you jacked up the fuel tank that you didn't kink it or anything, and it moves freely. Of course, I got to move my light, but I was going to show you guys that it does move freely. I just can't get my camera high enough, but you can see it kind of loops there a little bit and goes to the top of the tank. So now that that's all good, let's go ahead and drop our jack here. Get that out of the way. And then you can double check this other line as well. This one won't get pinched as easy as that back one there. But you can see mine can just still move around freely here. So I know that isn't pinched or anything from jacking the tank up. Okay guys, so next go ahead and get your Fass unit mounted into your vise if you can. And then you're going to take this 10-300 fitting. That's going to go in your E port there. So go ahead and get that started in there. And then again, we'll take our 7/8 and tighten that down to 20 foot-pounds. Just like that. And then come on the other side here, and you'll notice you got a letter T right there, and then a number 3. So you're going to take this elbow here, the 10-302, and you're going to screw that into this port here where it has the T. And of course this one you're not going to be able to get torque wrench on with it being an elbow, so you're going to have to guesstimate on 20 foot-pounds for this guy. And in the instructions, they show it pointing kind of upward like this. So I'm going to guess about right there is 20 foot-pounds. It's kind of like that. Next, you're going to grab these little like aluminum spacers here. You got a total of 3. One's going to go right here, and then the other 2 right here. Just kind of line up those holes there. Next, you're going to take this bracket here, and this is going to sit on top of those spacers. You kind of have to hold it, and then you got these 3 bolts here that they consider the 1/4 inch by 20 by 13, and you're going to want to go ahead and stick these through, get them started in there. Same with these 2 here. And then you grab a 7/16 and go ahead and tighten those guys up. Okay guys, so in your kit, you'll want to locate this piece here, and then there's this like rubber piece. So locate those 2, this bracket here,
And then you got this single bolt along with this single washer. There's only going to be one of these and then one of these. But if you notice in your pack, you got a bunch of different ones. So just locate the one and then this one that's kind of different from these washers here. And then we'll go down underneath the vehicle and let's go ahead and get this mounted. Okay guys, so go ahead and crawl underneath the driver's side here. And then right before the driver rear wheel, of course you got your leaf spring here. And locate on the frame rail here this larger hole. And then you got that smaller one. We're gonna go through this larger hole. So take your bolt with your washer here. And then take this bracket, you're gonna stick this through. And this is gonna go up through that hole. So kind of like that. Take this other bracket here along with this rubber piece, stick that on. And if you notice there's threads through here, so that bolt there is gonna thread through this bracket. And then you got a shorter end and a longer end. The longer end is gonna go towards the front of the vehicle. So go ahead and get this kind of up in here. And let's see if we can get this bolt started through this bracket. So try and get that bolt started. So once you get it kind of started on there, that bolt's going to be a 3/4 or a 19 millimeter. So grab your wrench or socket. It's going to be hard to get on there, but you can get a wrench. And let's go ahead and tighten that up. And then once you get it kind of close, you can kind of maneuver it around if you need to. Not sure if we're going to need to make some adjustments first. So I'm just going to kind of get it snug but not too tight until we figure out where we need to be. Okay guys, so next you're going to take this rubber bracket here, and the way this is going to work, it's going to go in between this and our Fass unit here. So we'll grab that, and then you want to grab those 4 bolts that were in the kit with the 4 washers, these ones here, and then the 4 nuts as well, because that's going to hold the unit onto this bracket here. So get those kind of ready, and then grab your unit here. So like I said, this is going to mount just like that, but we need to get this rubber spacer in between here. So you're going to put that on there kind of like that. And let's just go ahead and get a couple bolts through to kind of hold this on here. So get that through like that. Grab a nut. Get one of those started on the back side here. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed, but see if you can get it to go on there. Get another one through here. Yeah, like I said, it's not easy by yourself here. Go ahead and get that one through. And don't worry about that rubber bracket being misaligned. We can straighten that out. Just want to get a couple to hold this on here. It's kind of like that. That way it's being held up. And then you can kind of rotate this however you need to. Try to straighten out that rubber bracket here. And then we can adjust this as needed as well. So just get those other 4 at least started on here.
Okay, so now all those are kind of started through there. We can still maneuver this bracket, like I said. And if we need to go up with this, we can. So kind of like that. They say you just want to make sure you get at least 2 fingers clearance above the body here, because if not, you'll have rattles. But then you don't want it to be too far down either. So just kind of make your own judgment on that, and we'll go ahead and get these tightened on here. And those are going to be 9/16 on the nut and the bolt. Okay guys, so I got all those tightened up, and then before I tighten these ones, I went ahead and that 3/4 bolt here for the other bracket to the frame rail, I loosened that a little bit. That way I can push this whole bracket closer to the frame, because it was kind of pretty far out. So got that where I wanted it, tightened up that 3/4 inch bolt up there, and then went ahead and did these 4 here. And that's about where I think I'm going to leave it. Like I said, I got a lift, so my clearance isn't a big issue. And then I also took a level here. You can see right up in there, just to make sure this is level too, as I was tightening those. Okay guys, so now I'm going to go ahead and route our sump and return line. So your sump, of course, is going to be your bigger line here. And what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the frame rail up here, and then that's going to come back around and loop up over here. So go ahead and feed this through however you need to. So like I said, I'm going to try to come up through here. Try and bring this around. Where it's kind of like that. And then I think I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this a little more. That way it's kind of facing this way, and it can kind of go on maybe something like that. So let me just get this tightened just a little more here. So I'm thinking kind of like that. And then I did find my hose cutters, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little slack in this back in there, kind of, because we can always zip tie it out of the way. I just don't want it to be super tight and stretched, you know. So I'm thinking something kind of like that. And then of course we'll have our fitting too, so keep that in mind. Or I could even shove some more in here if I needed to. So I'm thinking probably right about there. So grab your cutters, and let's go ahead and cut this about right there. So then once again, take your larger fitting here. Should be the last one of these. Put some grease on there. Get that mixed around so that hose slides on there nice and easy. Grab your hose, and let's go ahead and get that shoved in here. Again, it's going to be pretty hard, so I'm going to heat that up. It's definitely harder without having that on the vise. See if that's enough. And that's why you guys want to leave some slack too, because you want to be able to really grip this hose and get this guy on here. And let's see if I can use the body to help hold it.
and shove it on. Okay, it's kind of like that. So now we can go ahead and take this and let's get that screwed onto here. You can see it looks like I melted that a little bit when I did that last, but that's all right. Go ahead and get that screwed on. Grab your crescent. And get that nice and snug. Probably like that. I think that's gonna work. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do our return line. So your smaller one from the tank, and that's gonna go to this one here. There's already a fitting on there. So you need to put that one on. But I'm gonna do the same thing, kind of leave a little slack here. And we can zip tie that out of the way. So I'm thinking probably somewhere along the lines about right there. Take your hose cutters. Same thing, go ahead and slice these off. And then I went ahead and greased my fitting already here. You see that on there. So go ahead and get that one started, and that one is actually a lot easier to get on. Didn't even need the heat gun. So like that, pressed up against the yellow there. And then, I don't think I'm gonna go under, maybe I will. Just go underneath this here. Just to kind of hold that a little better. Go ahead and screw that on. So it's going to be this bottom one, the R, and then above that one is going to be the E. So that's your engine feed. So go ahead and get that one snugged up there with your 7/8. Okay guys, so I missed a step. I was just looking at some of my parts and I totally forgot this piece here. So this rubber piece here was actually supposed to go on top of the frame rail there before you put that bracket that goes up over and then bolts right there. So this piece is supposed to go on top of the frame rail before you put that bracket on. So it's going to sit on there like this. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull that 3/4 inch bolt there, and hopefully I can get this kind of slid under there, and then go ahead and tighten that back down. So don't forget to do that when you're putting this bracket together on the frame rail. Okay guys, so as you can see, I got that rubber piece back underneath the frame there. It's kind of a pain to do, especially with the whole assembly assembled now. But I like to do things right, so just don't forget to put that rubber piece in when you start assembling this whole bracket thing. So next, work your way forward till you get to the factory lift pump here, and let's go ahead and just drain the excess fuel out of here. So my plug is a 3/4. I think the original one that started leaking on me was like a Torx T35, I believe, or something like that. But just go ahead and loosen up this plug, and let's go ahead and drain the fuel out. And some will have like a little knob you turn as well, just depending on the year. Go ahead and get that out of there. So go ahead and let that drain. Okay, so once that's pretty much done draining, just down to a drip, go ahead and get your plug back in. That way it's not dripping all over you while you're trying to work down here. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and start taking off some of these fuel lines. So like I said earlier in the video, I am doing a regulated return with a fuel bowl delete up top there. So mine's going to be a little bit different than yours, unless you're doing the regulated fuel bowl delete. But I'm going to try and show both ways, just so you guys know though. So you got 4 lines going into your factory lift pump here. So this the top ones here, these 2 top ones are going to be the return, and then your bottom ones here are going to be your engine feed. So this is going to go straight up to your engine. So what we're going to want to do is disconnect this one, and then we're going to attach a fitting that'll go into this where the blue hose will come out, and then go back to your Fass where the E port is for engine, and that'll feed your engine. But they also want you to take this one off and then stick a plug in it. So let's go ahead and take this one off. So you can see you got this blue tab. I think you can see you can kind of push and then try sliding it off, but you can see that doesn't want to slide off of there. So let me go ahead and try a quick disconnect tool. We're going to try this 3/8. See if I can get that up in here. Push that in there. And that doesn't even want to work. There we go. So got that disconnected there. So let me get my pan so it's not dripping on me here. Pull that one off. Once that's done dripping, you're going to take this plug they supply you with, and then you're going to just go ahead and just got that on my face. You're going to stick this in there until it pretty much clicks. And let me try that again. There we go. So it clicks in there like that. So next you want to disconnect this fuel line. For those of you guys that are watching the other video with the regulated return, you will not have to undo this one if you don't want to, unless you're looking to get rid of this line totally. But what you'll do is pop that up kind of like that, and then you're going to slide it forward. That's just kind of a locking tab. And then get your 3/8 fuel line disconnect tool. And I will put a link in the description for these. Super cheap on Amazon. But same thing, you'll stick that one in there. Once you get it in there, go ahead and pull this fuel line off. Just like that. Take your tool off of here. Okay, for you guys that are not doing the fuel bowl delete, what you'll want to do is you're going to have 3 of these that they supply you with, and you need to pay close attention because there is 2 different sizes. So you got 2 that are going to be the same, the smaller diameter, and then you got this larger one here on the left. So you want to take this one, and this end here is going to click into this fitting here that we just disconnected. And then what we're going to take is our blue hose. Your blue hose is going to fit over this, and then we're going to run that all the way back to the Fass fuel system. So you'll take your blue hose, like I said, and go ahead and get this shoved into here, just like that, and then you'll stick it into that one there, and then take that all the way to the back of the Fass fuel system. So then you'll continue to run that blue hose. You can go back behind this cross member here, and then back around, and then you're going to kind of loop it, and you're going to go up into this fitting right here. And then of course you'll have your last fitting that you'll get your blue hose onto, and then you can go ahead and screw this into place, and that'll be the E on the back side here. Okay, for those of you guys that are doing the driven diesel
fuel bowl delete. I'm gonna have to pull this one because the one they supply you with, this will not fit onto here. Because if you notice, the diameter of the fuel bowl delete hose is a little bit different than this blue hose. So go ahead and pull this with your 7/8. Get that one out of there. And then they do give you a bunch of these different fittings to see whichever one works. They give you a whole bunch because some are for the Air Dog or Fass or the driven diesel one. So find the one that works, which is probably going to be this larger one here. Let's just find out. Get this off of here. Because this end will be the same on all of them. It's just this is going to be different. So see if that'll thread it into this port up here. And looks like that's going to be the one. But before I go ahead and tighten that, I'm going to go ahead and get some thread sealant on these real quick. Okay, so I went ahead and put some thread sealant on this. Just this Permatex here. I'll put a link in the description for it. So go ahead and get that screwed in to that port there. And then that's going to be a 7/8 as well. And we'll go ahead and torque that to what the other one was, which was 20 foot-pounds. And then as you can see, this will go ahead and screw onto here like that. But first, let's go ahead and get our hose routed. So like I said, I'm going to take it and I'll probably loop it around, and then we'll come on the back side here and then through this cross member. So I'll show you guys that. So go ahead and take your fuel bowl delete line that Driven Diesel supplies you with. And like I said, I'm going to start back behind this cross member here, and then I'll probably do something kind of like that, and then I can zip tie it here to this, or zip tie it to this one, because you don't want it to be kinked. But before I do that, kind of know about where it is. Let's go ahead and run the rest of this up to the fuel bowl delete. So again, just continue along, going underneath the frame. Whatever you guys think is the best way to route it. Alright guys, so you can see I just kind of routed it underneath the factory fuel lift or lift pump there, then up over the leaf spring, and then you can see there's actually this open slot here. Not really sure what that was for at one time, but I was able to just clip it in through there, open this clip, and now I got it running up there. Because you can see the factory fuel lines right here. So we need to, you can see the factory fuel lines right here. So I'm just kind of following along there, but I'm going to go up behind this coolant hose here, and then kind of up where the factory fuel lines came through, and then up to our fuel bowl delete, which is right here. Kind of hard for you guys to see it, but get that out of the way here. So right here. So go ahead and get this shoved underneath here in this cooling hose. Try to feed that up without it getting caught. Might have been easier to feed this downward, but get my light out of here. Feed this up. See there, kind of like that.
So something kind of like that. I just wanted to make sure we're gonna have enough hose, which we got plenty. So I'm not worried about that now. So now let's go ahead and get it connected onto the fuel bowl delete there. And then we can go down below, pull on some of this excess and get some of it trimmed off and get it connected to the Fass. So just like the Fass fittings, this one here, you're gonna have this elbow, which will screw onto the top of the fuel bowl delete there, and then the hose is gonna come off of that. So, gonna take some grease again, put that on here just to help it slide on. Get that mixed around. And then let's go ahead and get that inserted to this hose. Make sure that hose is clean, especially from sticking it through the frame rail. Make sure no dirt or debris got down in there. Go ahead and stick this on. Again, get it all the way to the yellow there. Should be good like that. So then go ahead and take your hose, and you may have to just shove some of this down in there because we pulled quite a bit through. Get that shoved down there. Sorry, my camera's in the way here. Get that pushed down. And then, looks like I still need to go some more here. Too much fed through there. And we're going to connect that to the fuel bowl delete right there. So move your line out of the way, pop off this cover. And go ahead and get that threaded on here. Okay, so get that started. And I'm hoping that will work kind of like that. Just hoping I have enough clearance for, yeah, that should be good, for my air intake coming in through here. So I'll kind of just turn that maybe a little bit like that. And grab a crescent. Let's go ahead and get that tightened up. Like that. Okay guys, so I went ahead and just kind of fed the rest of that back to where we have all of our excess on the back here. So this is about how much we got left over. So we probably have about the same. And again, you don't want it to be tight, so you want to leave a little slack just in case, because at the end we'll zip tie everything up so nothing gets kinked or anything. But let's go ahead and disconnect this, or cut this piece here. So like I said, I want to route this kind of something like that, and then we can zip tie these two together. You just want to watch this end. Like I say, you don't want that to be kinked, so that's why you want to leave a little slack, so that way it doesn't kink. So you may even do something kind of like that. So I'm thinking right there. Let's go ahead and try that. So then you can pull this fitting back off and get your grease put on.
And let's go ahead and stick that on there. Okay, so like that, you push all the way on, and you'll know you're on pretty much when you can't turn this yellow thing. So then go ahead and get this threaded on. And let's get that tightened up. And grab my crescent wrench. Just like that. Okay guys, so now for the return. And like I said earlier, so if you guys aren't doing the regulated return, this would be a blue hose, and then that would be going into this line here with one of these. So they would end right here instead of going up to the fuel bowl delete. So really, I could put this line back on if I want to, but I'll just leave it disconnected for right now. So now we need to undo these two top lines up here on the lift pump. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is going to be for both if you're doing a regulated return or just the Fass system, because we need to bypass the factory lift pump there for your return. So go ahead and snap this off here. Again, grab your 3/8 quick disconnect line here. Get that shoved in there. Pull that line off. And then your other one there with the white tab. And then this line here, they say to just zip tie up out of the way, so I'll probably do that later, but you can zip tie it to this electrical harness up here if you wanted to. But same thing. Let's see if we can get our 3/8 disconnect under there. And that one seems a little harder to get off there. Oh, okay. So this one's actually coming off with the quick disconnect without the tool. So you got that white tab. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see if I can get you a better angle here. So see that white tab right here? So push in. So push in on the line, push down on that, and then try and pull this off. There we go. And then you can undo this one here. Just like that. Okay, now for you guys that are not doing the regulated return, what you would do is you use these other two fittings. And so these are gonna insert into those lines we just undid for the return, since we're just bypassing the lift pump. So those will go into there, and then what you need to do, take some of your excess hose. So you're gonna stick this into there, and then of course you're gonna cut it to whatever you need to. So probably only need to cut it, probably only need about this much right here. So once you get that cut, then you're gonna stick these two ends in. So it'll be kind of like that. And then of course, you'll stick these into those fuel lines on each side up top there. So pretty much all you're doing is bypassing the lift pump here. So since I'm doing the regulated turn, it's gonna be a little different. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So for you guys doing the regulated return, you're gonna take these two pieces here, and this is gonna stick through there like that. Take your hose they supply you with,
And let's get actually this hose clamp on here. So take this hose clamp. You're going to want to get this down on there. Trying to get that shoved through here as much as it'll go. We may have to shove a little more once we get it on the regulator. So now let's go ahead and screw this onto the regulator, and then once we get that screwed on, we can feed this down to the return there by the factory lift pump. And then I did get that shoved on the way, guys. So what you can do, just take a Phillips screwdriver, and you can stick this down in there to kind of hold it, and then you just press, and you can see we're fully on there now. So just something kind of like that, and then that way you can get this hose clamp into place. And kind of going the way the hose is routed, because I want it going downward. So just kind of something like that. So then come up here to your regulator. So then come up here to your fuel pressure regulator, and it already has that 90 degree on it, but I want to turn that a little bit so we can get our line routed down here with the other one we just did. So let me see, or actually it's already, so just kind of loosen up the lock bolt there, or nut, and let me see if I can just turn this. So I'm going to turn that kind of like that. I didn't really want to loosen it, but I don't know if I could go all the way around or not. But I think right there will be all right. Just go a little more here. And then go ahead and get that tight once you get to where you want it to be. Like that. So then you can go ahead and take what we just assembled and I think I'm going to route this under here like that. Just kind of something like that. And then let's turn our hose here. And go ahead and screw that on. Watch your EGR wires there are kind of in the way. And looks like I may need to come over just a little bit. Unless I can get it started here. And there we go. So go ahead and get that started on there. And snug that up. So then I'll see if I can kind of route this the same way as I did the fuel bowl delete line. See if I got enough to get down below there. I'm hoping we could do it that way. So yeah, just like that. Again, leave a little slack up here if you can. And let's go kind of en route with the factory fuel lines or the one we just did to the Fass. Get that kind of fed down there. And then like I said at the end here, I'll zip tie everything out of the way. You want to make sure it ain't gonna come in contact with your steering.
shaft there, or of course your exhaust manifold's right there too, so you really want to make sure it doesn't come in contact with that. And then I haven't decided whether I'm going to keep the old fuel lines in here for now, or maybe I'll just rip them out later. Kind of something like that. Okay guys, so for the this hose, there really isn't much excess to really trim off. So I don't think I'm going to trim this one. I'll just zip tie it up out of the way. So, because you can see, really they don't leave you too much. So what you want to do is you're going to stick this piece in there, but first you want to go ahead and grab your hose clamp and your pliers here. Just get that around here. And then you're going to take this piece here. This is going to fit into there. Make sure you get that on all the way. And then get your hose clamp into place. Just like that. And then what you're going to do is this is just going to stick into here, this rod they supply you with. And should just go in there unless I did the wrong end. Let's try this end here. Maybe I'm just not in all the way. So get that stuck in, and let's see if we can. You can see that doesn't want to. Not sure what's going on here. Well, maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. There we go. Just stick it in a little bit so you can see now it won't come out. And then this end here is just going to connect into that factory line right here. So go ahead and stick that one in there. So just make sure that's on there. Okay. Just make sure that ain't gonna come out on you. And then what we're gonna do is zip tie this up out of the way. And then, like I said, I didn't have to undo this one. I just did this one to show those guys that don't have the regulator return. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stick this back on here. Get it kind of out of the way. Same with this one here. Just so those are out of the way. But at the end, I'll go ahead and zip tie all this up here. So now let's go ahead and move on to getting the Fass wired up. Okay guys, so now let's go ahead and start wiring it. So you're going to take this big old huge harness they give you with, and I'm going to follow it for most of the directions, but some of it I'm going to change up. So first thing you want to do is locate this end here. This is where your relay is going to plug into. And then they say to use some this dielectric grease into the relay and then also plug it into the Fass system. So go ahead and break that, and then just squirt a little bit of this. Don't need too much, just right where those are going to make connections. It's kind of like that. And then you're going to go ahead and get your fuse or your relay here, and then just make sure you got that in there correctly. This should only plug in one way. Trying to figure out, yeah. So get that plugged in like that. And then what you're gonna do is they give you this relay cover. And what this is gonna fit over this. And then this top portion here is gonna come out of this hole here. So you're gonna shove that through. Your wires are gonna go into that too. And then it's gonna come up through just like that. Now we're gonna go find a spot under the hood to mount this relay to. Okay guys, so go ahead and locate a spot underneath the hood here, preferably on the driver's side. There's nothing really right here for me because kind of this stuff's in the way, but I did find a spot back here, so let me move my camera. Okay guys, so I'm thinking I'm just gonna go right on the edge of this bracket here. I don't know if that's the best spot, but I think that's gonna work. So I'm just gonna go kind of get it on there like that. And then I'll use a self-tapping screw just to screw into this bracket. And then that way I can use like this ground here, or there's another one right here behind the power steering fluid reservoir. And then the positive can go to the battery. So I'm thinking that's probably the best bet, or you can go like on the body here, but then you got the hood pop latch thing in the way. So I think I'm gonna go right here. So let me go ahead and get that self tapper in there. So there's something kind of like that. And then you can get all these wires kind of fed to where they need to go. So this one here with the green and red wire, this is the one that's gonna stay up here. And then you got your place for your 30 amp fuse. So go ahead and pop this off, or pop this open. Grab your 30 amp fuse they supply you with. Go ahead and get that inserted in so you don't forget. So get that pushed in, get your cap back over this. And there is a spot to mount this if you wanted to. But like I said, this one we're gonna keep up here. So, not sure how I'm gonna route this one yet. Like I said, the green here, I'll probably just go to this ground wire right here. So that green one will go there. And then this red one's gonna go to the top of our positive battery cable here. So the rest of these, of course, this one here is going to be the one that plugs directly into your Fass system all the way in the back. And then this other one with just the single red wire, this is going to be your key on switch. So Fass, in their instructions, they say to route this into the cab there and then find a fuse that becomes hot with the key on. I'm not going to do that. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to unplug the factory lift pump power wire there, and I'm going to wire this directly into that wiring harness that plugged into the old factory lift pump. That way I know that one's key on, and if you're sitting somewhere, you know, in a parking lot waiting for somebody that's shopping and you're listening to the radio or whatever, and you have the key on, that way it's not going to burn up that pump and run forever. So if you hook it into your old factory harness for your lift pump, that will not happen. So let's go ahead and get this one fed down along with the one that goes directly to your Fass. I'm going to feed that down kind of under all these other wiring harnesses. I mean, you have so much wiring over here, and then you can go down below your hydro boost line here. So let me go ahead and start getting some of this stuff shoved under all that. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and start on the top side here. I did just kind of push some of this extra back in there and then just went underneath the power steering reservoir here. So now let's go ahead and get our ground connected. So just take you some strippers, strip back some of this wire.
ahead and take your eyelet they supply you with, stick that in there, along with some crimpers. And let's go ahead and crimp that. Let's get that nice and crimped so it ain't gonna come off. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go off of that one there. So grab an 8mm. And you may need to just move the power steering reservoir out of the way to get to that one. So take that off, and then you can get this eyelet fed through there. And then go ahead and stick that back on and tighten that down. So next, take your red wire. We'll do the same thing. Go ahead and cut off some of that for the eyelet. Grab your eyelet, stick that through. Go ahead and crimp that one. Get that one nice and crimped. Grab a 10mm. Go ahead and pull this off here, this nut off your battery cable. Man, that's tight on there. Let me try an impact real quick. See if an impact will get that off. So pull that off. And you can put this one either under or over. I'll probably go under, since that's a pretty big eyelet on there. And let me just route this a little bit here. So go underneath like that. Along with this. Get your nut. Go ahead and tighten that down. Try and get that eyelet kind of centered on there. Just like that. Okay guys, so what you want to do now is connect the power wire. So if you notice, there's a total of 3 wiring harnesses plugged into this factory lift pump. The one you're going to want is this one here. So go ahead and push that in and pull it out if you can. It's kind of hard with all these lines in here in the way now. Okay. And then if you notice, there's going to be a red and black wire. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this open, and then we're going to use this red wire. It's kind of a red pinkish, just a little faded out there. So let me get a knife, and we'll open this up, and then we'll cut that wire and splice into it. So just go ahead and use a razor or something, kind of cut this back, expose that red wire a little better here. And watch your eyes, there's a lot of dirt and debris in here. Just make sure you don't cut the wire. So just kind of expose that. you can go ahead and cut this right at the edge here of the factory harness. And these aren't the sharpest. Let me grab some better cutters. Go ahead and cut that off. Get a little more here. And then you go ahead and strip that back. And just kind of twist that up. And then you will need a butt connector, which of course they don't supply you with because they don't want you doing it this way. Let me grab one of those. So get your butt connector and go ahead and stick that on. And this might be a little too long here. So let me just cut off some of this excess wire here. And this is a waterproof butt connector. And you could solder this if you want. That's probably a better route, but this will work just fine. So get your butt connector on there. Go ahead and crimp that down on the one side. Make sure that's on there good. Then go ahead and grab your other piece here, your single wire from your Fass relay under the hood there. And then probably can cut some of this off because there's way too much. So, but again, if you got extra, you can just zip tie that under the hood there. So I'll leave a little extra just in case. So we'll go about right here. Cut that. Expose your single wire. Strip that back. And you can stick that in the other end and go ahead and crimp that down. Stick that in there. Get your crimpers. And go ahead and crimp this side. Just like that. And see that looks good. It's not going anywhere. And then these are heat shrink ones. So if you take a lighter or a heat gun and then just go ahead and burn the ends of these, it'll shrink around to the wire, not allowing any moisture to get in. So you can see it kind of shrinks right up to the wire. So we should be good like that. And go ahead and get this back around. If you want, you can use some electrical tape around all this too. Which I'll probably do just to right around this connector and all that, just to kind of keep this the way it is like that. Actually, I'll just plug this back in to the factory fuel pump. Just to kind of hold it there. And then I'll go ahead and tie that up and zip tie the rest of this up out of the way. So now we can go ahead and move on to the Fass plugin. Okay guys, so just like everything else, you can see I ran this back behind this cross member and everything, and then we'll get this plugged in. So then this is
pretty simple. I mean, all you do is just go ahead and plug this in. So you got your plug in there, and this is going to go on top. Plug this guy in. Make sure that gets in there all the way. You can see it kind of clicks in. Just something kind of like that. So what I'm going to do, I think, is go ahead and zip tie. You can see there's a lot excess harness. All this still in the way. So I'll probably zip tie some of this out of the way. And then we'll get on to our filters. Okay guys, so now we can go ahead and get our filters on. So first one I'm going to do is this side here. So that's going to be the PF 3001. And if you notice, they actually put it on here where the filter location goes. So you can see there's the one with the long straw. So it's going to be this filter here. And then it does include this O-ring inside that we need to put on as well around this. So if you open this up, you'll see it comes on this like metal keychain thing, so you don't forget it. So go ahead and slide that off of there, and then this is going to go up over this. So just kind of slide that up over those threads. Try not to flip it like I just did. So like that. And then they say to go ahead and get some oil. You can use oil or grease on the filter housing here, gasket. So I'm just going to use a tiny little bit of grease here and just kind of smear that around just for easier removal when we got to remove these to change them out. So like that. And then let's go ahead and spin this one on. Then just go ahead and get that one tightened by hand. It's probably about like that. Go ahead and grab your other filter here. Now they do give you these extra O-rings and stuff just in case something were to get pinched. So those are all extra. This one here, you can see this is going to be the one that goes on the straw. So go ahead and pull this off. Same thing, you're going to lubricate this one, but on this one we are not going to tighten fully because we need to leave this one loose, because once we go to start it, we're going to use this one to prime it. So with this one loose and you turn the key, you'll come back down here and you'll hear this kind of change tone. Once that's changed to a different tone, that's when you can tighten this fully. So this one we're just going to put a little grease on. And again, we'll go ahead and just screw this on. So like I said, I'm not going to fully tighten it, just kind of leave it loose like that. And that's it for the filters. So now what I'm going to do, I need to let my camera charge. So I'm going to go ahead and get a lot of this stuff kind of zip tied up. Same with all my other lines and wires. Get it nice and looking good. Make sure nothing's kinked. And then I'll come back. Okay guys, so as you can see, got all that kind of zip tied. And I made sure nothing was kinked or going to come in contact with anything hot, or you know, like a drive shaft turning or something. And then I just kind of followed that along. Even zip tied some of this up here. Excess wiring harness that I had, and then the fuel line from the fuel bowl delete, kind of zip tied that up a little bit off the frame there. And then up here by the old lift pump, you can see zip tied a lot of that stuff.
kind of hard to see here. Some of this stuff here, and I was able to shove that fuel bowl delete line back underneath the original lift pump there. And you want to just make sure nothing comes into contact with this drive shaft as it's turning. Follow that along. You can see went ahead and zip tied some of the wiring harness going up to the relay, and then our fuel lines going right through here. Zip tied those because you want to make sure those are zip tied down away from this hot exhaust manifold, so make sure that doesn't come in contact with that. And then I'll go up top there real quick and go over that, and then we should be done with the Fass. And then coming along up here, you can see got my blue zip ties there. Just zip tying that to the old fuel lines. You can see the old fuel lines there. I'm just going to leave those intact for right now. I might remove them later along with the factory lift pump. Just want to get this done. And then of course coming up here, you can see zip tied right there, going to my fuel bowl delete, and then also the fuel pressure regulator there, the return. So I think it came out pretty good. And then also back along here, you can see the wiring harness there came up, kind of tidied this up a little bit, and then of course going to our relay there. Okay guys, so there's a few more things we need to do to the fuel pressure regulator to go ahead and finish this up. So you want a 3/16 Allen. We're going to unscrew this plug right here into the regulator, and that was loose. But this is going to go be where our gauge goes, the one they supply you with. So get that guy out, and then you need to put some either some thread tape on there or some thread sealant is what they're calling for. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of this Permatex thread sealant on here. Get that on the threads here, and then we'll go ahead and screw that in. Once you get your thread sealant or tape on there, go ahead and screw this in. And then you'll want a 7/16 wrench to get on the back side. There's a nut, which we can go ahead and kind of get this tightened. Get it to where you can read it. So go ahead and spin that around. Get that nice and even there. So I'm thinking probably about right there. That way you can read it and everything. Okay guys, so the last thing we need to do is, you see the brass nipple coming off of the fuel pressure regulator here. That's going to be your boost reference port, which we don't use on diesels. That's for like gasoline engines. If you want to add fuel pressure with boost. But what they supply you with is this string of rubber hose here. And what they want you to do is go ahead and stick an end of that onto the nipple here. And then we're going to route this kind of up along the cowl here. And then we're going to want it to dump down below the truck there. In case the diaphragm were to fail, it would dump fuel down onto the ground instead of all over the engine here, creating a fire hazard. So just go ahead and route this, tie it up however you need to, keep it away from heat sources, and then I'll show you guys here at the end how I routed this. Okay guys, so you can see I got it all routed. I just kind of zip tied it to this hole here in the degas bottle bracket there, and then came down along here, and then it goes back down underneath some of these wires here, and then down to the frame here, which I'll show you. So then you can see it coming out. So coming out right here, and then I just kind of zip tied it to the differential breather hose here, and then you got this little hole in the frame here. So I just shoved it through there, and it comes out here. So if that diaphragm were to fail, it would just dump fuel right onto the leaf spring pretty much. So I think that's probably the best bet. I did have to cut a little extra off there, but I think that's going to work like that.
So next, guys, I'm going to go ahead and install the Mishimoto oil catch can. So let's take a look really quick at the kit here. They do not include any instructions on this. You can look online. They have their own video on how to do this, so I'll kind of just follow along on that. But I got this off of Amazon. I think they ship it directly from Mishimoto, so I'll put a link in the description for it. But you can see you got your two hoses. Then your oil catch can is going to be in here. And you can see you got your in and out. That's where your two lines are going to go to. Then you got your bracket here, which is going to mount right underneath on the, I think it's for the step here. I'll have to look again. And then give you these fittings here, which will screw into the oil catch can thing there. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so the first thing we need to do is go ahead and get our hoses routed. And they're gonna go up from the engine bay there, down behind this inner fender well here. And then your oil catch can is gonna mount to the same bolts that hold this step on here. So it'll mount underneath there. And then it uses the gravity to feed the oil down to the can. But Mishimoto wants you to go ahead and remove this inner fender well first. I'm gonna try to avoid that step. See if we can do it without having to remove this, because this can be a pain to remove a lot of times, especially on the older vehicles. Because you got all these wiring harness clips that clip into it, and those tend to break. And then you got, well, in my case, I got dual shocks here and not the coil spring setup. So this inner fender well kind of sits behind there, so it's kind of hard to get off of there. And then just getting it back on, slid into place, can be a pain too. So let's see if we can do it without removing this. If not, we'll go ahead and remove it. But looks like you got maybe a couple bolts I might try and remove, and then let's just see if we can push it outward to get the hoses fed through. Because what they want you to do is those hoses are going to be fed through the engine bay here and then down to the oil catch can. And if you notice, like I said, I did a rebuild on this engine, so I haven't put everything back together yet. But normally I'd have my battery here, and then your air intake. I got an S&B air intake, not the original stock one. So if you guys got the original stock one, you can go ahead and remove your air filter housing here, along with your tube going to your turbo. And then you'll have a tube coming off of the tube going to the turbo, and then it goes into the CCV, the crankcase ventilation system here. And that's what we're going to connect our hoses to. So we'll come off of here, go down to the oil catch can, come back up, going into that tube, which goes into the turbo there. So you still get the vacuum and everything. So if you guys want, you can check out my other video on removing my S&B. So it doesn't really show you if you guys still have the factory air intake, but there's plenty of videos online on how to take that factory air intake off. So you can go ahead and do that if you want really quick. And then let's see if we can get these hoses routed. So if you crawl underneath here behind the driver's side wheel, this is where they want you to route those hoses through, because they give you a little trim piece here that keeps the hoses from rubbing on this sharp area right here. And they want those hoses to be dropped down through here. And then they want it to be mounted right on, right here is where the oil catch can is going to go for your step. So let me go back and look at the inner fender well, see if there's a couple bolts we can loosen to maybe try and just push this kind of downward so we can get our hoses through and get that trim piece on. So grab an 8mm. Let's go ahead and remove this bolt here with the fender washer. So I'm hoping maybe with this one, we can just kind of bend this downward like this and then get our hoses through. So if you come down below, you can notice now we can push down on this. And I think that's going to be enough to get the hoses fed through here without having to take this whole inner fender well off. So that'll save a lot of time and hassle doing it this way. So go ahead and look in your kit here, and this is they give you two pieces of these. And like I said, this is gonna just go on to here
to keep the hoses from rubbing up against there. And then I guess a smaller one maybe for this one here, just in case. But you can see I got this big lip there too. But I think if we just go right here, we'll be all right. So go ahead and take your piece here. What I'll probably do is just cut this down because it's going to be too long. So if we get this on about right there, just kind of measure how much you're going to need to cut off. So if I go right there to about right here, go ahead and cut that. So once you get that cut, go ahead and stick that on there. Just got to kind of press it on there. Should just kind of spread out, and then it latches on there. Just make sure it's fully pressed on there. And then if you want, you can stick this other one on here, even though I don't think we really need it because we're not routing it through. And then if you want to stick this other one on, you can, even though we're going to route them through that hole there. Okay guys, so next you want to grab your two hoses, and if you notice, they're different. So this one right here on top, you can see it has this curve. This end here is going to go into the valve cover where the crankcase ventilation comes out. So that'll connect onto the valve cover, and then the other end of this is going to go into the in port of the oil catch can. And then of course this one here will be coming out of the oil catch can, and this end will be going up into the tube for the air intake, which then leads into the turbo and that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed these from the bottom up into the engine bay, and I don't want to get any dirt, debris, or pebbles, because that inner fender well behind that could be pretty dirty. So I think what I'm going to do is just take some electrical tape, or you can take some normal tape, and let's just cover up these holes here while we're shoving it up through the engine bay, just to be safe so nothing falls down into here. Just kind of go around, whatever you need to do to seal that up, and then we can pull this tape off once we get them fed up through the engine bay there. So just something kind of like that, keep anything from falling down in there. Same with the other one. So then take your two hoses, take these ends here, and let's see if we can get these shoved through there. So if you need to, try and pull this down as much as you can, create that hole there. And you can see why they want you to put that piece on there, because they will rub on there. And actually what I'm going to do, let me see if I can tape these together just to get them through at the same time, and maybe a little easier. All right guys, so I got those taped together. You can see just from a little bit of shoving we did, there's already a bunch of dirt on here. It's because this just collects a bunch of dirt. But let's go ahead and see if we can get this shoved under there, or through there. At least enough to get some of it there, and then we'll go up top, see if we can pull the rest. So pull that down as much as you can. Go ahead and shove those two together. Kind of like that. And let me go up top and let's see if we can pull some of this up. All right guys, so I went up top, still need to shove up just a little more to grab it. So shove this up a little more. Okay guys, so you can see up top here, It's starting to come through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my wife stand up here and hopefully pull on these while I feed them from down below there. We'll pull them up just enough to where they need to be, but we're going to have them coming pretty much straight through here, or right underneath, right up through here. That way we can get them to go along here. So let me go ahead and grab her really quick and we'll get these fed up through there. Okay guys, so I got my wife up there ready to pull while I pull down on this and then feed the rest of these hoses up to her. So let me get this down. Okay, go ahead and start pulling if you can. There we go. Okay, a little more. Okay, about right there. And actually, let me go pull them up a little more. Okay. Okay guys, so I just had her pull up just about that much for now. It's gonna have to be pulled up more, but I want to get our oil catch can mounted into place first so we can see how much we need of this hose to keep down here. Okay guys, so grab a 13 millimeter and let's go ahead and remove these two bolts here on your step. So then grab your bracket, and they give you 4 bolts, even though you're not gonna be able to get 4 in here unless you had another one of these backer plates for this hole here. And you can see this one, there's no hole drilled. So you're just going to take this bracket here, and then that's going to sit on there like that. And then take your new bolts. They don't give you any washers or anything, or if you wanted to, you could reuse the factory ones, but those ones are kind of rusty. So get those on there, and those are going to be 13 millimeter as well. Let's go ahead and get those started. Like that. And then I guess they do give you just 2 nuts for these 2 here, but like I said, I'm not going to put one in that one. I will put this one here through that hole, and then with it's going to be hard to hold a nut back on the back side here, but you can get it started. See if I can hold that. Tighten that up. So just like that. Next, grab your oil catch can, and then you got these 2 ports here, which are going to screw into the in and out. They're exactly the same thing, so don't have to worry about getting it mixed up. You see there is an O-ring on there. So go ahead and get these screwed in, and then we'll just get them snug. Because you can get them pretty tight by hand here. Once you get them finger tight, I'm just going to take a crescent, just go a little more, and they'll pretty much stop, so you really can't tighten them too tight. Just like that. Now we'll go ahead and set this in, and then we're going to have these 3 screws, which are going to screw into the top there and to hold it in place into our bracket. So go ahead and grab your oil catch can along with your 3 screws, and that's going to be a 4 millimeter Allen. So get this up in here and try and get these started. This back one's gonna be the hardest here. And you guys could probably do this before you mount the bracket, but then you'll just have to use a wrench to get this one tightened here. But once you can get them screwed in by hand from up here, it's pretty easy, especially with it being brand new. Let's get those down on there. Just got to kind of go off a feel for these screws here. And then use your Allen wrench, and let's go ahead and get those snugged up. Okay, once you get all those tight, the way this works is you just unscrew this. And then you see you can be able to empty this out however it needs to be. I'll probably go like maybe 500 miles the first time, and then we'll see how much oil is in here. I'll probably do either a video or a YouTube short on that, just showing how much has collected within 500 miles, and then maybe do 1,000. Get this screwed back on here. Okay guys, let's go ahead and connect our hoses now. So you got your in port and then your out port, and I went up top and just made sure, and luckily I have these positioned the right way. So the in port one here is closer to the leaf spring, and then the out one is going to be closer to the outside of the car here. So grab your provided hose clamps they give you, and you want to orientate your hose the correct way. So you may have to just kind of turn this and then shove the rest of it up there. So it's going to go on there like that. Same with your out hose here. So shove that one up a little more. And let me get my wife to kind of pull up on that one. Okay guys, so I got my wife back up there, and just have her pull up on that one a little more. Okay. And pull up on the other one just a hair. Okay, good. Just like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and connect our hose clamps. Again, just double check, make sure you got the right hose going into the in and out port here. So take your hose clamp they provide you with, stick that on, get this shoved on here. Same with your other one here. Kind of like that. And then this is going to be a 7mm on the hose clamp. So just get your hose clamp into position. Go ahead and tighten those up. It's kind of like that. Then just double check over here, make sure that's all good. Okay guys, so back up top here, you can see kind of how I routed these. So this one here is going to the in port, which will connect right there to the CCV. And then this one down below, the master cylinder brake fluid level plug in there. That one will come around and then of course go up into the air intake there. So what we'll need to do now is you'll want to take this piece out of your factory intake or whatever, but this will just pop out of this one here, out of my S&B, because we need to get this hose off of here, because we're going to reuse these two fittings on the end here. And you can just see how much oil is soaked in there, and then along, just see all that oil just gets caked in this intake, and that's what I'm hoping that this catch can is going to avoid.
especially going into my brand new O-Dogs ported intake manifold, and then the new turbo, and then also got a new intercooler on there. So hopefully this helps solve some of this. So to get these band clamps off here, just try and take a flathead screwdriver if you can, and then just see if you can get up in here and kind of twist this. You can see it kind of releases it there. And get up under here. And we need to loosen it a little more here. There we go. So you can kind of just cut that off of there. Do the same thing to this one here. And then you should be able to twist that off of there. There's that one. And this one, same thing. You can just see how old and brittle that hose is there. So let me go ahead and get these two fittings here cleaned up, get all this oil off of them real quick. Okay guys, so I got those all cleaned up. And then Mishimoto doesn't supply you with this that green O-ring there. I do have one laying around. You can see mine's all cracked up and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace this because that gets worn out from all the oil. This was included in my Powerstroke Products upper gasket kit that I got, so that's why I have this one on hand. So get that guy on there. And then we go ahead and get this tape off of these hoses that we covered up. And again, this one being the intake or import going to the oil catch can. So this is going to set down in there, and then this is going to connect to that. So go ahead and push this down in there. And with the new O-ring, it might be a little harder. Try and get that shoved in there. It just doesn't want to pop in there, does it? Okay guys, so I lubed it up with a little grease. Let's see if it'll go in there now. Alright guys, well, maybe that O-ring's just too big and it's not the correct one. So let me go ahead and throw the old one on. I don't want to break the plastic portion of it. I could tell this old one is thinner. I just figured it was kind of wore out, but let's see if this will go on there now. There we go. So yeah, that O-ring must have been too big. So then go ahead and get your hose attached and get your hose clamp they provide you with. Get that around there. Get this stuck onto here. And then you want it to kind of face kind of like that. So it's fitting right underneath the degas bottle here. Let me get this a little tight here. Get your hose clamp position where you want it. Make sure you got a nice fit, tight fit onto that hose because you don't want any oil leaking. Tighten that up the rest of the way. Kind of like that. And then just kind of center it like that.
So now we'll go ahead and connect our outer portion. Then you go ahead and do your other hose here. Get this off of here. And go ahead and get your hose clamp over that. And then this end, because this end's going to go up into that tube. So get this on here. Get your hose clamp somewhat tight. Not exactly sure. I may leave it a little loose so we know about where we need to have this turned. So I'm just going to do kind of something like that for right now. Grab your tube here, and like I said, this one sticks through there. And you can see mine's kind of wore out, but it'll still work like that. So it's going to go in there like that, and may need to shove some of this hose down here to get this on the way it needs to be, because it's going to have to go in there kind of like that. So let me maneuver this a little differently here. Let's see if we can get this on. Now, I haven't test fitted everything yet with the new turbo and that larger intake manifold. So I'm hoping I got enough clearance here for this to go in and clear all my wiring harnesses, because got a lot more stuff on here now. And then the fuel bowl delete and regulator return. So let's see if we can get this into position here. Get up over my fuel line there. And let me get in a different position here, see if I can get that on. So I knew it wasn't going to be easy getting this onto the turbo. This wiring harness is right in the way. All right, guys, so I finally got it here. Had to do a few things to get this to work. So, well, you can see it coming up down through there. So that's what you want. And what I had to do was, the wiring harness is too thick with this larger intake manifold from O-Dogs that I put on. So I had to maneuver this wiring harness. I had to take off my fuel bowl delete line here, and I had to move this harness right here from running back through here. Now it's down on this side. So I had to take this line off and pull some of this harness just to get this to fit. And then I also put this rubber part on the turbo first, and then the plastic portion here. And then you can access those hose clamps through there with a long extension and an 8mm. So I think that's gonna work. So now, let's see if we can get the rest of the air intake in. Keep going, getting some of this put back in. That one started up on that. Kind of leave that loose till we get the rest of this in. Get this portion on. Grab your 8mm. Go ahead and get these tightened up on here.
think this one's already tightened because I didn't loosen that one much. Try and get your mass airflow sensor plugged in here by your dipstick. Got the click. Then you can go ahead and get this sensor plugged in right here. Get your filter on there. And I bought one of these socks from S&B, and this thing's awesome. So if you guys have an issue with dirt and debris clogging up your filter real fast, this is the way to go. And I think it was only like 25 bucks or something, but well worth it. Put your filter on and go ahead and tighten that up. And of course your cover. And then your 4 Phillips screws. Try not to use an impact on these. I've used one before and it just cracked the plastic, so just use a screwdriver on these. Okay guys, and then lastly, just get that bolt with the fender washer in through there. I didn't record it because I had to use both hands. I had to pry up with just a pry bar because you got those hoses there. So you need to kind of pry, and then you can get to that hole to screw that in. So then just come down below here, double check this, make sure everything looks good. You can see, I'll zoom in, those hoses right there. That's why they put that trim guard on there. And just like that, makes it a lot easier. Like I said, instead of removing this whole inner fender well there, you can see it can be done without having to do that.